Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of X Vlog Live. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And today, folks, well, we have two topics, two very pointed topics. One broke late last night that we have learned that the Killer Instinct developer is going to be doing of course, I'm talking about Iron Galaxy. Let me just give the name the shout out. They are officially back to working on Killer Instinct. And on the 22nd of November, we are going to see what they've been up to regarding the 10th anniversary update. And of course, what they intend to do for the next 10 years of Killer Instinct, which is absolutely amazing. And quite frankly, still one of the best fighters in the business. Like I said, you take that. No shade to Mortal Kombat 1, Street Fighter 6, Guilty Gear, Blaze Blue, Tekken 8 that is releasing soon. But I mean, if you want to talk about fighters, granddaddy of fighters, there's none better than Killer Instinct. And I am here to tell you that I am ready for a sequel to a launch title that to this day still looks amazing. But the other topic that we're going to get into is, well, we're going to be asking the question, is there an actual Xbox tax? Because if you listen to some people in the gaming media, some people on the socials, they'll tell you that you are a tinfoil hat nut. And look, I have something here that someone posted on X or on Twitter. His name is Joey Phantom Kraken, and he posted an interview, a sit-down interview with Larry Herb. Larry Herb sat down with Greg Miller, and again, it's only about a minute or so. But Larry Herb actually comes out and says, "Yeah, we are measured differently than Nintendo and PlayStation." Now, I understand that he is retired, and I get all of that, but I think that his opinion, even though he is retired, is absolutely relevant to the conversation that we are going to have. Now, we were scheduled to have Mav Fun Speculation join us. I don't know if he's running late, but hopefully we can get him in here. But you know who we have here today that we have not had on the show in a minute, and that is Jamie Moran. Jamie, first of all, hello, good afternoon, because I know that you're in the UK, so I think for you it's 5 p.m. But great to have you back on the channel. I know that you've been busy with your own stuff, which has been really, really, really good. How you feeling, man?
Hey man, thanks to be. It's good to be here because I don't think I've been on one of your shows since like the third lockdown, so it's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a while, man.
But yeah, it's I mean, we're obviously going to be talking about the Xbox tax stuff, and like you said, if you even broach the subject, you're called a crazy person, tinfoil
Right,
hat wearer. No matter how much you show the proof and how
right.
different each company gets treated differently, you get called crazy, and I think that's a bit of a shame because to a lot of us, it's blatantly obvious. And in the Xbox space, I feel like the Xbox community is very close knit, very community
Yes.
focused.
Yep.
And when it comes to this stuff, we always realize this and see it and post about it on Twitter or X. Screw that, I'm not calling it X.
Yeah, I call it Twitter. It's just
Yeah.
it's just dumb. Yeah.
But like it's been going on for years, sadly. But yeah.
Well, listen, let's open up with the news that came the way of, and let me just pull it up over here. Um Last night, while we were doing the primetime gaming, which was a magnificent show last night, we had Pixelbit G join us, and we a lot of debate. And obviously, what I loved about it is that there were a lot of opinions. Some agreed, some disagreed. No one was yelling over each other. No one was crying foul. We were giving our grown man opinions about being disappointed with the Game Awards once again. And during that stream, which if you missed, is going to be up on the RSS feeds as soon as this feed is done, and it's up on YouTube right now for you to go back and check out. Killer Instinct, the official Killer Instinct Twitter account, dropped the bomb, folks, and that's what I want to open up with because obviously, listen, I'm a fighter, right? I have a Street Fighter 5 stick. I have a Killer Instinct fighter stick, which is rare and extremely valuable. Um, I've been a fighting fan since the old Super NES days when Killer Instinct actually was launched. Oh, could you believe that? It was launched on the Super Nintendo. It's crazy to me. And now, if you don't remember that, it was a black cartridge with Fulgore on the cover. Pretty dope stuff, and unbelievable that it actually worked. It's just madness. Um, but Iron Galaxy obviously is the last one to touch Killer Instinct with seasons 2 and 3, and they were brilliant. Right, they were brilliant seasons, and unfortunately, one of the tropes that Xbox suffered when mismanagement was, of course, running rampant, with Donnie D and such, is that they were tasked to work on someone else's game. And after that, they got done working on that, they decided to get into the free to play games and they made their own. So what happened? Well, what happened is there was no season 4 and there were no updates to of Killer Instinct. And we've heard Phil Spencer and Matt Booty specifically talk about, hey, we talk about Killer Instinct all the time. Our problem is finding the right developer. Now, here we are, and of course, nobody wants to see anybody fail. But unfortunately, Iron Galaxy's studio, they put out their free to play game. Apparently, it was good, but it just did not hit like they expected to. Now that potentially could kill any company, and it just turns out, folks, that they are now seated in reviving and potentially revamping Killer Instinct. Now, I would imagine that because they were the stewards of seasons 2 and 3, that it's going to be Killer Instinct. It's just going to be more bombastic. It's going to have bigger characters. I would imagine the guest characters that are going to be in here hopefully will be robust because let's call it like it is. Xbox now owns ABK. I think there's a lot of characters that they could bring in from just those two studios, as well as stuff from Bethesda, stuff from even some of the characters like Joanna Dark, for instance, would be a great character. So this is what they tweeted, Jamie. Join us for a developer stream with Iron Galaxy on Wednesday, November 22nd at 1 p.m. Pacific time, which of course would be 4 p.m. here on the East Coast. It's Killer Instinct's 10th anniversary, and we'll be sharing the latest news and upcoming changes to Killer Instinct. And you could watch it on twitch.com/Iron Galaxy. Jamie, is this a big deal? Because before I even let you answer that, for me, and again, you can call me a conspiracy nut or whatever. I like to. I don't mind being wrong. I'll admit it on the air. I'll take chances. I believe, folks, and I did not speak to anybody in Microsoft. I have no connections where that I could what I'm about to say could potentially I could get this information. I'm going on a hunch. When they came back to Killer Instinct, Iron Galaxy said in a tweet that they have 10 years of Killer Instinct ready to rock and roll. Following the 10 years of the fact that it launched that was relaunched in 2013 for the Xbox One. Well, I'm here to tell you that because Microsoft is still in the acquisition phase, I believe that this studio has already been purchased. They just have not been announced. And if it's under the threshold, which I believe is 300 million, or is it 100 million? Please, someone in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong. They don't have to report this because it's under the threshold. I believe that this is going to be one of the many studios that get announced as acquisitions solely through 2024. Jamie, let's get your hot take on that, as well as the fact that Killer Instinct is coming back.
I have to agree. Microsoft, a lot of people used to see Microsoft as this like live service focused company, but if you look at all the games coming out in the future, they're all single player, 90% of them. And even though that's a really cool thing, they do need live service stuff. And fighting games are popping off at the minute. You have Street Fighter, people are loving that. Mortal Kombat, people love that. You know, the DLC, the characters, and all that stuff. You have Tekken coming out early next year, which people are really looking forward to. And like Microsoft has all bases covered other than fighting games, but they already have Killer Instincts. So they've already talked about how it's going to get a next gen upgrade. And the studio does need money. They do need work because Iron Galaxy, they're a talented studio. They know what they're doing. And fighting games aren't exactly easy to make. And you know, they've done free to play stuff, and unfortunately it hasn't worked for them. But if you look like 10 years ago, Killer Instinct launched on a console that was covered in, you know, controversy for whatever reason. And like now, Microsoft's in a great place. Back then, Microsoft only owned a few studios and like a handful of IP they would actually use. Now they own Activision, Blizzard, Bethesda, so they could have dozens potentially of other characters added. And I think more than ever, it's likely to come back because back then it was during the Donny D era where we would get these games, they wouldn't get supported after launch, they would never get sequels. And this is when Microsoft had so few studios, they were working with second party. That's why we had all the issues with Crackdown and Recore took ages to come out. But now that's not really an issue. The studios can do what they want. They get more support more than ever. Microsoft clearly has funding for the gaming division, evidently, you know, billions. So I think now more than ever, Killer Instinct has a huge chance of coming back, especially since like Killer Instinct in the UK is trending probably every week for the past year. So there is a fan base that want that IP to come back. And I think it's a big enough franchise to come back. And I think there's enough people that want it to come back. And plus what they could do with, like you're saying, with the characters and the live service element, because again, it's free. Yeah, I think it could happen.
You know, and by all rights, it should happen. You know, you made the mention of Crackdown, for instance, and that's a great pick because what happened with Crackdown is that game was going to be something super special. It really was, and unfortunately, what wound up happening is because there were no words in a contract that said, "Hey, if you are going to be acquired, we have first right to attempt to spend the money or to at least match it," right? That wasn't in the contract. And what happened is Epic Games bought that technology. And that technology could have, I would imagine, could have been easily licensed, but they just chose not to do that. And what happened? Well, they had to pull it all out of Crackdown. And listen, I'm gonna tell you this right now. I don't apologize for this. Crackdown 3, folks, was dope. If you didn't like it, I hear you. I'm not going to fight with you. It was dope. I spent a ridiculous amount of time in that. Loved every second of that game. Though, of course, if it would have had the technology that was shown off about the agent shooting through the wall, it would have been something even more special. But that had to be all ripped out and overhauled, which sucked. Does that mean that we'll never get a new Crackdown? I mean, I don't know. I mean, with Game Pass, I don't think there's anything out of the question. I think you can take chances with you know, with games that that are not going to sell 10 million copies, like a Starfield, for instance. You don't have to worry about a Starfield, you know, hitting, even though it did, right? Like for instance, if they ever decided to go and I don't know revisit something like Crimson Skies, like I think Crimson Skies is one of the most underrated OG Xbox games that to this day still holds up graphically. If you put it on the Series X with the upres, it looks phenomenal. And you know what? That could be a free to play game because there's not only a single player story, which is dope, but there's multiplayer with planes. You're literally dogfighting. It's phenomenal. So if they wanted to take a chance, they absolutely could. And now I'm going to turn all of this back on. Well, what's my point? My point is Killer Instinct is in a position where games as a service, Jamie, are just hitting like a dump truck, right? Halo Infinite, folks, what you see right on your screen. I didn't get a chance to do it because I was doing some stuff before the show. I spent 6 hours yesterday, 3 hours last night. I went to bed at 2 in the morning, which is, old men don't usually do that. And I recorded about 6 or 7 hours of Halo 3 Refueled. My God, it is so freaking good. And that's a games as a service. You know what else is a games as a service? Sea of Thieves. Not for me, but when they add that in December where you can play by yourself and you can just, it's PvE. I'm in. I'm gonna be a pirate legend because I get a chance to do it without getting robbed. You heard my story 100 times, I'm not gonna tell it again. And of course, Grounded just got the big update. These three games, this is not including what's happening with ESO, with Fallout 76, with Call of Duty, with Diablo 4. These are just what I just took three. Could you imagine, Jamie, if Killer Instinct comes out and it's one of those fighters that you can buy it or you have the I'm not even sure how they would do this. Would this be a free to play? Would it be just in Xbox Game Pass and you can buy characters like Fortnite? Like you buy your skins for your characters. I honestly don't know. What angle do you think that they need to approach a new Killer Instinct?
I think with Killer Instinct, they will probably go free to play, and I honestly think they'll adopt the Fall Guys model or the Fortnite model where you have the battle pass. And some people get really put back when you hear your battle pass because I'm a single player gamer, right? So battle passes aren't really my thing. However, there's clearly some value in that. Like
Yeah,
I get the Fall Guys battle pass because it's actually worth it. You only have to buy it ever just once.
yeah.
Um, but like with Killer Instinct, you could have like all the different characters, different armor pieces, and different cosmetics per character, and just the way like it would encourage people to play as different characters. So one minute you could basically level 1 to 10 you play as Ram from Gears of War, and then 10 to 20 is Chai from High Five Rush,
Oh
and
my
then each
God,
character
yeah.
could have its own like different style of armor pieces because all these characters kind of really do have their own different sets of like cosmetics anyway. Like Chai alone in High Five Rush has like 8 different like main costumes. So
Yeah.
I don't think in 2023 and beyond, Kill Instinct should be a $70 title. I think free to play, especially when you have other fighting games popping off like Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. And some people don't like the whole free to play angle, but if you really think about it, Killer Instincts, in my opinion, and as someone that doesn't really play fighting games anymore, I know for a fact that Killer Instinct requires more skill because button bashing, and I've tried, doesn't really work in Killer
It does
Instinct.
not work. No, it does
Yeah.
not. This is not Tekken. This is it's stylized, but there is a lot of back end control that you have to learn. Like I don't play every character. I my main go-to for me is Saberwolf. It has been since the arcade days. I've tried Jago. He's okay. I like Riptor. That he kind of plays a little bit like Saberwolf. I don't play a lot of the characters because there's a massive learning curve, but you're onto something.
But I do think, again, like I'm a single player person, and even though I don't play fighting games anymore, I'll say this: they could do the Halo Infinite route where the multiplayer is free and they put out a story campaign that's paid.
They could. They could. I want to give a shout out to Jay Hamid in the chat. And he says something pretty interesting and it's on point. He says, "I'm sorry, Boom. Xbox doesn't need more gas games. Everything shouldn't be free to play. We have Game Pass. We can get a 6 to 12 hour story mode with multiplayer that doesn't need to suck our walls dry." Pause. You know something? Fantastic post, brother. And you're onto something. I don't expect Xbox to adopt every game to be gas. But if you look at traditional fighters, Mortal Kombat, right? They sell you a $70 package, well worth every penny, right? Every penny it's worth it. And then they have these, the combat packs. And what I've seen from a lot of people is a lot of pushback because their combat packs are they're a bit pricey. Now I don't care because, well, I love Mortal Kombat and I have bought every one of their combat packs. Whether it's $20, $30, or even I think the first one is pretty pricey. I think it's 44 bucks. I'll confirm it, but if you offer Killer Instinct as a free to play model and you somehow see what you need to do is the best of both worlds. Mortal Kombat has an incredible single player campaign. It really does. Now, I haven't played, I know the sin of sins. I haven't played Mortal Kombat 1. You know why? Because my backlog is as tall as I am, and I'm a big dude. I'm 6 feet. I am trying to get to as many games I can, and unfortunately, I do 5 shows. I have real life stuff that goes on that I have to take care of a house. It's just not enough time in the day, especially when you consider something like Starfield that has stolen 5 days of my life. Um, so I will get to it eventually, and even before I get to it, I will buy the character pack because that first character pack is pretty dope. But getting back to Killer Instinct, I hear what you're saying, Jay Hamid. I think there is a fine line that must be walked because what I'm hoping for is I'm a multiplayer guy in Halo. I'll dabble in Call of Duty a little bit. I'll play, I still play Titanfall 2, which is amazing. I play the Division, right? But I am not a multiplayer fighter guy. Like I want to play against the AI, have a story, get the story, beat it, pick another character, and continue wash, rinse, and whatever. Why I think that it can exist in both is because of Xbox Game Pass. There is a way to have the development dollars. See, ultimately, what Xbox wants you and me and Jamie and everybody in the chat to do is continue to pay for Xbox Game Pass. And as long as they keep dropping in games like Starfield and like Motorsport and potentially a new Killer Instinct and South of Midnight and the list just keeps going and going and going, you're going to keep paying. And if you are someone that have never been a part of Xbox, well, you know how that's going to happen? When Call of Duty Gulf War comes out next year and that drops into Xbox Game Pass day and date. And people that are PlayStation gamers who are not diehards, not going to abandon their whole library, you're going to get the normies that are going to sell their PlayStation 5s. I'm sorry, that's a thing. That is going to happen, whether you believe it or you don't. Now, I say that because normies or the casual gamers, well, they don't support multiple consoles, right? They pick a platform that has their games that they want to play with their friends, and something like Call of Duty that is going to be available for 15 bucks, or well, now $17, 16.99, is going to entice people to say, well, why should I pay the Sony price of 76.43 when I can just pay 17 bucks and it's in my service? This is crazy. So I think you're going to see a migration of people move over, and maybe the fighting game fans who are fans of Mortal Kombat, who are fans of Street Fighter, who are fans of Tekken, are going to see a new, updated, graphically intense, big bombastic characters in Killer Instinct come back, and that's going to bring people to Xbox because it is going to be on PC and Xbox only. What are your thoughts on that, Jamie?
When it comes to I like to call it the Mandela effect. When it comes to Xbox, everyone has this thought that everything is live service. Because I've seen a bunch of people mention this in the chat already, and like if you look at there's games with DLC, like your Halo and your Grounded and all that stuff, and Hi-Fi Rush. Those a lot of people treat those as single player games. I do. Like I mainly cover single player games, and when it comes to Xbox, they have a bunch of single player games in development, and it's not games as a service stuff. Avowed, Hellblade 2, Fable, Perfect Dark, Outer Worlds 2, Indiana Jones, State of Decay. Elder Scrolls 6, obviously, that's far away. South of Midnight, Clockwork Revolution, Kojima's game is rumored to be single player. Contraband, People Can Fly's game, Project Mara, Everwild, the Fallout 3 remaster, which is probably going to be announced in the next few months. A bunch of stuff
If
like that.
not at the Game Awards.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
please keep going.
Yeah, and like the Oblivion remake or Oblivion remaster, that's rumored to come out next year
Yes.
alongside Indiana Jones. So like, I'm a single player person. I don't really play multiplayer anymore. I don't think people should be worried. And I think, like, I'm a realist. I know that Microsoft makes billions in different avenues. We all know this. But if you really think about it, Killer Instinct needs to make money to survive. The studio needs to make money. They can't just put out a game and say, hey, it's in Game Pass. It is what it is. They have to monetize Killer Instinct in a realistic way. Let's be honest. They have to be realistic. And the most realistic way to go about it in 2023 and beyond, for the multiplayer, they have to go free to play. Like campaign, they can charge whatever they want for it. They could go crazy with it. They could do platforming segments, anything they want. But I think putting out a $70 game, even though it would be in Game Pass, I think it just wouldn't work in the modern age.
I mean, you're definitely onto something. It depends on what it looks like ultimately, whether or not it is going to be, um, you know, if it's going to have a main story. Let's say, for instance, let's take the blueprints of what they did with Mortal Kombat 1, right? Mortal Kombat 1, even though I haven't played it, I've seen some of the story. And I can go right back to, Mortal Kombat 11, right? That was an amazing single player story. If they can adopt something similar, I can see them actually putting it out for sale at $70. It's going to have a roster that is deep. It's going to have a roster that is going to be nothing short of 14 fighters, right? It has to have minimum 14 fighters. And, obviously, if you buy the deluxe digital edition or whatever you're going to buy, you can turn around and you can, include the battle pass or whatever it is that includes the first 6 guest characters, whatever they are going to be, right? I can see them actually charging the money. Now, again, when I say charging, we are going to be able to play it for free in your subscription service, which is ultimately what they want us to do anyway. I mean, look, I'm just happy that it exists still, that it has not fallen on deaf ears of just being, oh, well, it's a title that we don't know if it's going to hit, so we're just not going to make it. They're in a position where they don't. Again, I said this in the opening, folks. They don't have to sell 10 million copies of Killer Instinct. What they need to do is put out a great fighter that revives a classic IP that they own, put the love and care, and we know that Iron Galaxy is going to do it. They're going to put their TLC and professional touch on a product that they made even greater than the original developer when it released in 2013 as a launch game. Seasons 2 and 3 for Killer Instinct were phenomenal. Go now, download it, and play it. Now, granted, yes, is it as good as Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter 6? No, it is not. But if you give Iron Galaxy funding, you give them additional talent, and more importantly, you give them time, they are going to do what what we know that they can do, and that is bring us another Killer Instinct that is going to be bombastic and it's going to be memorable, and that's all they have to do. And the one thing, Jamie, you shot off a list of games, which, again, when you say it like that, the amount of titles that are in development for Xbox Game Studios is just ridiculous. And I say that to say that we don't need Killer Instinct next year. We need Killer Instinct when Iron Galaxy is done developing the game. And because there are so many games in development, and we know for the next 3 years, folks, we're getting 12 AAA must-play titles out of Phil Spencer's mouth. He said that in an interview. He said specifically, the next 3 years are gonna levy 4 per year, equaling 12 AAA blockbusters, folks. We're in the end game now. And this is why Sony is scrambling. Nintendo, like I always say, Nintendo, don't worry about them. They're just going to do their own thing. They got a new console next year. I guarantee there's a 3D Mario to launch with it, along with a bunch of other stuff. Nintendo, they're good. Sony, on the other hand, they're in a tailspin. I don't care what anyone tells you. And it's funny. We're not going to talk about it. I think we may make mention of it on Breakfast at Boom. Are we seeing the cap from the gaming media for the PlayStation Portal? Did you see ACG's review of that thing? Did you see some of the other people that are playing it, literally playing it on screen, and it's stuttering?
Yeah, I think if people are a fan of stop motion movies, they're gonna love this console. Look, if you look at the PlayStation Portal, it's $200. It's not a $200 handheld. You need a PlayStation 5,
Yes.
and no one's really talking about that. They're saying, "Hey, it's cool. You can sit on your couch and you can play these games." I've seen people try and take it outside the house, but there's no way to log into a browser to access other Wi-Fi
Because there's
networks.
no browser. Yes,
Yeah,
yeah. Explain that for a second, because I don't think people understand.
yes. So
Yeah,
when you have like an internet device, like such as like a Switch or anything like that, there's a back end portal where it opens up a browser and where you actually connect to the Wi-Fi network. Well, people have taken apart the PlayStation Portal. It's a basic Android tablet, and that's not to insult the technology in it. It's basically an Android tablet with a controller slapped on the side. There's no base operating system like Android or anything like that. So there is no browser, meaning you can't access out external, uh, internet networks.
Wi-Fi. Yeah,
Yeah,
you can't.
Wi-Fi,
Yeah,
and like they've came out with a handheld that you can't take outside the house, which is kind of ironic.
it's
People have been,
portable. It's supposed to be a portable, meaning that you're supposed to go anywhere with it, but you can't. Like, for instance, I think the best way to describe it is, let's say that you are going on a trip and you fly out and you're staying in Hotel X, right? And this hotel, really nice place, right? Offer free Wi-Fi. That's dope. Guess what you can't use? Your PlayStation Portable, because it cannot access a browser in order to access the free Wi-Fi. And from what I understand, I've heard several people say this. If you go further than 20 feet from your console, you start to get stutters. Like, what are we actually doing here? This is absolutely a $700 device that doesn't do shit,
yeah,
because you need a PS5 to use it, and well, if you don't have a PS5, it's useless because it has no memory on there. You can't do anything. Well, listen, we'll get into further slander, if you will, tomorrow morning, because I'm sorry. Listen, Sony keeps stepping on the rakes, folks.
yeah,
Everyone's like, "Oh, boom, your console warring again, man. You're kicking the pony when they're down." I'm not kicking anybody. I don't result to violence. I call it out like I see it. And the same way that when Xbox makes a boo boo, what do we do as a community? We come out, we rally around each other and point the finger and be like, "Yeah, this is not good, Xbox. We need to fix this." So I become a troll because Sony is making it easy to make fun of them. That's ridiculous. Sony is just doing a bunch of really dumb things. Sorry. Well, what are you going to do? But I do want to move on to the next topic, Jamie. And this one is very, very. It's going to be very interesting because I want to hear from the chat. I want to hear, because we haven't talked in a minute. I don't want to get your hot take on this, but before I do, we do have one super chat that popped in here, and it's from our very good friend John TJ. Just a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Forge is amazing. There are Call of Duty maps in Halo Infinite." Yeah, I got to check that out. I am playing, like I said, I'm neck deep in Halo 3, the 8 maps they put out. It's phenomenal. Refueled, as it were. I definitely got to try those Call of Duty maps that are out there. But okay, so Jamie, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the footage because I'm going to do this in real time, folks, because I have it queued. And again, I want to give credit where credit is due. Joey Phantom Kraken on Twitter. It's at JOHANZEL capital V. Now he put out this clip. It's 49 seconds, and it's not the most of perfect put together clip, but you'll understand because I'll play it a couple of times. Now, what he says in this tweet is, I know this whole Xbox tax has people not believing Xbox has a different set of rules applied to them. Well, I finally found the interview with Major Nelson back in 2018 admitting that they do and know Xbox has a different measuring stick today. Here's the verb, the tax that he's talking about. This already has 700 likes, 211 retweets, and 101 comments. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick screen share because I want you folks to hear what this is all about. There's Joey's there. Okay, so I'm going to bring this up on the screen and let me make sure that, okay, so I'm going to play it. Let me know if you guys and gals hear this.
I think you're not getting the credit you deserve this generation.
We never will.
Yeah.
We never will.
Yeah.
We've seen this. It's like we know that there's a different yardstick for the different developers.
Right.
It's like we know that there's a different yardstick for the different developers.
Right.
The Nintendo guys are great. They, I've got my Switch right here in case I want to play Fortnite.
Yep.
So, I mean, those guys are great. I talked to Reggie the other day. The guys over at PlayStation, they're executing. They've had tremendous success this time around. But, it's funny with us, I think it's maybe because I don't know. So I think people like, oh, I hate Windows because I have to use it at work or I'm doing email or I don't want to do this PowerPoint for work. So I don't know if some of that anxiety and whatnot drifts over to Xbox, but we just want to do the best we can for gamers.
I think you're.
I'm gonna let it play
not
one
getting
more
the
time.
Credit you deserve this generation.
We never will.
Yeah.
We never will.
Yeah.
We've seen this. It's like we know that there's a different yardstick for the different developers.
Right.
It's like we know that there's a different yardstick for the different developers.
Right.
The Nintendo guys are great. They, I've got my Switch right here in case I want to play Fortnite.
Yep.
So, I mean, those guys are great. I talked to Reggie the other day. The guys over at PlayStation, they're executing. They've had tremendous success this time around. But, it's funny with us, I think it's maybe because I don't know. So I think people like, oh, I hate Windows because I have to use it at work or I'm doing email or I don't want to do this PowerPoint for work. So I don't know if some of that anxiety and whatnot drifts over to Xbox, but we just want to do the best we can for gamers.
There you go. So I'm gonna bring back on the footage. So, Jamie, let's talk about this. Okay. Obviously, there is something to be said about the Xbox tax. Now, we've heard that. Look, you said it in your opening monologue, and I want to address it. As a PlayStation fan, right? And I'm a fan of all platforms. I just prefer Xbox more than PlayStation. Sorry, that's life. When a PlayStation fan, folks, and please, there's 505 people here. Push back on me if you feel that I'm being disingenuous in any way, because I don't think I am. When a PlayStation gamer gets out on the socials and they say X, it's supposed to be looked upon as gospel. Like, well, a PlayStation guy or gal said that, so I guess it's right. But when an Xbox player gets out there and we start talking about the fact that someone like Josh Schroyer, right? He got out on the socials just the other day and put out some two tweets that were pretty interesting, which I'll find after once I hand it over to you, the mic over to you, Jamie. And I want to read because obviously this is someone else that is obviously he works for Xbox, he works for Microsoft, he is an important part of Obsidian, and he has some choice words regarding the cutoff date, the supposed cutoff date for the Game Awards, which was yesterday. but the announcement of nominees were Monday. So it's perplexing, isn't it? It doesn't make any sense. So I saw a lot of the comments I got from saying, "Hey, listen, the Game Awards." Now, again, I'm not crying about the Game Awards. It is what it is, folks. I'm disappointed. I said it last night. I'm not mad. I'm not angry. I'm not getting anything from Xbox outside of the enjoyment of my subscription with all the games that are in there. So I win. But am I mad? Am I throwing controllers? Am I kicking over garbage can? Of course, well, come on. I'm 53 years old, for Christ's sake. But I'm disappointed, and I'm disappointed in the system that is supposed to be. And again, I know that he's listening. Shout out to Kay Asante, because his problem, one of his biggest problems, is it's called the Game Awards, right? Meaning that it's supposed to represent everyone, and it actually doesn't. It represents the cool, which is Nintendo. And again, there's going to be people that, well, they were nominated, Hi-Fi Rush, not 5 noms. Hi-Fi Rush is literally so good and ultimately nearly perfect that it's one of those games that they absolutely could not have ignored. Like they did, I don't know, Starfield, for instance. That got 1 nomination and is going to lose that one to Larian's game, which again is brilliant. I haven't played it. It's not my type of game. Everyone I talked to was like, boom, this is amazing. So good on you if you're enjoying it. And it's probably going to win RPG of the year. It's just that good. That's just, it's a stacked deck of a year. But I hate it, Jamie, that every time we question these, the system, we pay them no mind. What they're saying is just rhetoric, and I disagree with that. I think that you have seen very visibly how the media looks at Xbox, and I'm not saying that they're the Illuminati and they're collectively banding together to give games like Starfield a bad score. Like, hey, I'm going to make a call to Dan. Dan's going to call the head of GameSpot, and GameSpot's going to call the head of PC Mag and say, guys, let's stick it to Microsoft. We don't like the fact that they're consolidating. They own ABK now. I don't like that, so we're going to make them pay. I just think that these are journalists that are on a panel that have a vote, and that this is their way of keeping Xbox down. Now, I mentioned those. I mentioned 3 entities. I don't know. You can call me a conspiracy nut, but it just so happens that all 3 of those entities, PC Mag, GameSpot, and IGN, well, 40+% of their ad rev comes away of PlayStation. So, I mean, are we going to ignore that? Is that just being too conspiracy nut-ish, if you will? No, I think it's out there. You can go look it up for yourself. Is it a possibility? Well, why wouldn't it be a possibility? Because it makes too much sense? Listen, I don't know. But Jamie, I'm interested to get your take on this. What is your definition of the quote unquote Xbox tax? Doesn't it actually exist?
I've been wanting to talk about this a lot, so this is going to be fun. So the Xbox,
by the way, take as much time as you want. This is a conversational podcast, brother. So go crazy.
So, like, every time anyone talks about this, they get told they wear tinfoil hat and stuff. And no matter how many different ways you explain it, you're told you're a crazy person, because the people on the other end just don't want to listen and they don't want to accept the truth. Xbox is held to a higher standard. If you go, and we're going back in time here. 2014, Xbox One gets the ability to play digital media files, and Kotaku puts out an article saying the Xbox One now lets you play pirated movies, and the thumbnail was of a pirate ship with a pirate flag, right? A year later, the PlayStation 4 got the exact same feature, and the headline was PlayStation 4 now lets you play media files, and the thumbnail was a picture of a PlayStation. Those articles were wrote by the same person. Same story, 2 different angles. And it's been going on for years. The Xbox One S comes out in 2016, and it has HDR. and everyone's talking about, is this HDR thing a gimmick? And then 2 months later, the PlayStation 4 Pro is announced, and Polygon puts out an article saying the PlayStation introduces HDR to gaming. It's been going on for years. You know, the PlayStation hack in 2011 lasted a month. People had no access to online. That was 2011. People kind of forgot that pretty quickly. Yet the Xbox One has been trashed. The Xbox brand has been trashed since 2013. When the consoles we got in that November didn't have DRM, that whole thing wasn't there. And like, if you even talk about Xbox or cover Xbox in a positive light in social media, people in the industry look down on you, talk down to you. But you can have a Nathan Drake profile picture and say the most toxic things in the universe, and it's fine. And you know, this whole thing seeps into the Game Awards. It's like you said, it's the Game Awards, and the problem with that is everyone looks at the Game Awards as the definitive one, whereas I just see it as one different outlet. But um, like, look at the Hogwarts Legacy. That isn't Xbox, but I'll use Hogwarts Legacy as a point. The fact that Hogwarts Legacy isn't nominated for a single category, despite the fact it's the best-selling game of the year. It has beautiful music, beautiful visuals. It's arguably one of the best games of the year. And the fact it didn't get nominated for one category says everything you need to know.
Well, they're cowards. I won't say what I said last night. I use a very derogatory. I use the F word, which I don't like to do. So I'll abbreviate it, and I'll say it again. And I will stand and die on this square. I don't know who's responsible for this, and only because you brought it up. So now I got to put on the Darth Vader mask. Anyone responsible, I don't care who you are. I don't care if it's Jeff. I don't care if it's the 120 members. I don't care however it was done. You're a bunch of effing cowards. You left a game off as if it didn't exist. It's one of my favorite games of the year. I got nearly 4 days in that game, and I have not beaten it yet. And I'm probably not going to beat it until I have 5 days. So I'm in it. And the fact that game, only because of the fact that it is linked through IP ownership of a person that said some things that you may or you may not agree with. I'm not picking sides. What I'm saying is that I'm standing up for the developers, the hundreds, maybe even 1,000 developers that put their blood, sweat, and tears into a game that has no right to be as good as it is. And it doesn't even exist, as if it never released in 2023. That's my arc villain end, but please continue.
Yeah, so like Hogwarts Legacy, obviously that's not Xbox, but it proves a point that there's stuff that goes on at the Game Awards that just means some games can't get nominated. Like the Hogwarts Legacy is an amazing game. Like, I put it like this, for a lot of people that are listening won't know this, that I'm from Durham, and in Durham City, the first 3 Harry Potter films were filmed there. So bear in mind, the Hogwarts we see in the game is based on the Hogwarts we see in the films. And walking around Hogwarts, there's parts of that castle I'm walking around, I'm like, oh, I've been here in real life. Durham Cathedral. And they absolutely nailed that game. As someone that grew up with the Harry Potter books and the movies, they came out with a game that people like me have wanted for like 2 decades. And it didn't get nominated because of the creator of the IP, despite the fact that 300 different people worked on that game, that work all the way around the world of different shapes, sizes, and whatever. Like, and it just goes to show, like, there's this like weird like hive. I've been told about this by like other Americans that in like California and all this stuff, like how they have a different mentality. I'm not really sure about that, but if you look at all the journalists, like GameSpot, IGN, all that stuff, you'll notice in between the age of 25 upwards, they all grew up with PlayStation. They never changed preference, and everything is anti-Xbox. Like, look, people will say I'm crazy. You can't say that they looked at it differently. You really can't. Xbox, for the first time ever, has a roadmap for the next few years. PlayStation doesn't have a roadmap, yet nobody's talking about it. It's all fine. They come out with a handheld. that doesn't do anything unless it's hooked up to a console via Wi-Fi, and it's fine. It gets an 8 out of 10 from IGN. Like, it's not fair. And the whole Game Awards thing doesn't make any sense. The one category Starfield is nominated for, it's going to lose to Baldur's Gate. Like, the second those announcements were made, I was like, okay, Baldur's Gate's going to win. And I can't wait to play Baldur's Gate. But like, Hi-Fi Rush is nominated for a bunch of different things, and I think deservedly so, but it's not up for Game of the Year. Like, it's one of the most original games of the year in an era where most AAA games don't take risks. They're all the same. Yet Hi-Fi Rush was launched via a shadow drop day one, and people love it. Everyone loved it. It has some of the most memorable characters of the year, and it's not getting the recognition it deserves. And like, none of the categories really make sense. Like, Bungie gets nominated for best community support, but Sea of Thieves doesn't, even though
it's well, you know what's worse than that? Their community support, they just got rid of all their community staff members. How does somebody not step in and say, hold on a sec, maybe we need to fix this, because this is make a change, for crying out loud. You can scratch them. I think that is tone deaf in the worst way possible. Jeff, I'm ashamed. Jeff Keighley, I'm ashamed of you. Like, look what they've just look at the firestorm that is Bungie right now, and you're going to put them in that category. Yeah, I get it. It was a couple of weeks before, but this is why you don't have a false narrative in the 15th being your cutoff date when it happened 2.5 weeks ago. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and if you look at like Starfield, right? Starfield has been listed as a controversial game based on nothing. No more, like, journalists will say, "Hey, Starfield, it's a controversial game." Why? Because it's owned by Xbox. And this is what really gets to me. They've had the same format of role-playing game for decades, and it's evolved over time. And are you telling me that the straw that broke the camel's back when it comes to storytelling in a Bethesda RPG just happened to be Starfield, which was exclusive to Xbox? And it's not nominated for things like, best original score, best art design. Nope, none of that. It's nominated for the one category we all know it's going to lose to. And I'm not saying, look, Starfield, people, whenever I talk about this, people saying, oh, Starfield isn't Game of the Year. I'm not saying it's Game of the Year. I'm saying it's not nominated for enough categories, and it doesn't get the recognition it deserves.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I think Xbox owners, fans, content creators, we kind of sick of it. It's became blatantly obvious that there's this. And I think there's an Xbox tax? Without answering it, I've just mentioned a bunch of different things which would point towards that there is one. And what are we meant to do? Just sit here and say, like, no, there isn't, let it happen. And, Hi-Fi Rush doesn't get nominated for the things it shouldn't. Should I say Starfield doesn't get nominated for any category that we all know it might win. And look, Forza is in the best sports category. I bet that's going to lose to something like the new FIFA game, right? I just think that, we need to take a step back and realize what the Game Awards is. It's a popularity contest. It's a popularity contest where, look, would people show up to watch that show if there wasn't trailers? No.
Probably not.
No.
Yeah, probably not.
And don't get me wrong, I'm going to be watching for the trailers. I don't care who wins. I do hope Alan Wake 2 wins Game of the Year, because that game's phenomenal. But I think that, look, people tune into that show to watch game trailers. There's these cringy ads with like Gillette razor and all this stuff that make.
That's where you were going to go.
Yeah, and it just makes no sense for like gamers to tune in to watch a 3-hour Game Awards ceremony at 2 a.m. UK time, where it's boring. 90% of the awards aren't even handed on stage. And do people really care? Best esports coach, and one of the esports coaches that were nominated came out on Twitter 2 days ago and said he hasn't coached in a year. So why is he nominated? It doesn't make any sense. It's a popularity contest. Xbox, is there a tax? Well, they've been treated differently for years. And like, Xbox didn't get a Game of the Year nomination. And all I see on Twitter is people questioning if Xbox has quality titles in development. they asking the wrong questions, and I don't know. And at all point, I keep looking at Hogwarts Legacy. The fact that that's not nominated proves that they are just willing to pick and choose what gets nominated.
Yep, absolutely. No, I mean, I think that's a phenomenal point. I think that there is no real arguing that what they see fit to be rewarded is really what it comes down to, and the best example is what Jamie just said, folks. Where's Hogwarts? Story, nah. Best music, nah. Development of the like environment, nah. None of that matters. Why should it? So if that game, and I mean, it's you can go down any path you want. If this is a deep well, folks, so by all means dive in. But I'm just saying that let's be for real. Let's keep it a buck, as the kids like to say, right? If Hogwarts could be wiped off the map as if it never existed, which is what has happened, could that happen to something like a Starfield, where it gets out of 30s? You know what? Let me go to the Game Awards. I don't know the exact number. Hold on a sec. Game Awards.com. I'm on exactly how pick it and find exactly nominees. Let me tell you exactly how many they are. Let me view all the categories. Okay, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 24. Okay, so 31 categories, folks. Now, some obviously, they don't really matter. Obviously, Starfield's not going to be in the best family game. It's not going to be in the best Sims strategy game. Of course, it makes no sense. But some of the places where it could have been, right? Now, Game of the Year over Resident Evil 4, I think is a given. Best game direction, yep, could have been there. Best narrative, absolutely. Best art direction, without a doubt. Best score and music. Are we serious? Like, have you listened to what's happening in Starfield? What about audio design? That doesn't get the nod for that? Okay, so it's not going to be an innovation of accessibility, or maybe best performance. It's not going to be in the best mobile game or VR, AR category. But the ones I just read to you, it could have easily been in there. And, I know that a lot of people, like one gentleman, again, it's his opinion. He says he doesn't see the outrage for a quote unquote snub at a game that's like, I think the PC version is an 86, right? I think the Xbox version is, what is it, folks? An 83, 84. I'll look it up in a second. I stopped caring. So it's my game of the year, folks. Surprise. I love Starfield. But what's interesting is I saw a lot of people being like, well, Boom, just a second. Those mid-80 games, I don't think there's much hubbub here. Oh, is that real? Is that a fact? Because, I don't know, Death Stranding, 83, 11 noms. Ghost of Tsushima, one of my favorite PlayStation 4 games, without a doubt. So much so I platinumed that game, right? Loved it. Loved the studio. Cannot wait for the sequel. That was an 83. That got the Game of the Year nod. So are we playing by the same rule? We're just not. And that is where this quote unquote Xbox tax comes into fruition. I'm sorry. It's here. Now, whether you want to believe it, you want to say that I'm some sort of conspiracy nut, you want to, oh no, it's Alex me, if you will. And I love Alex. I love his content. Thankfully, I wasn't thrown under the bus because he could be vicious. I just happened to be in there. So maybe, just maybe, Alex, if you're listening, I know you're not, but even if you're listening, I mean, maybe I got a couple of subs because of you, and we're close to 14K. We're like 13. We're 321 away. That's still a bit away. I mean, we still got to get to 700. But if you find the channel for the first time, folks, consider subscribing because I do this 5 days a week. But Jamie, anything in closing that you'd like to add? Because normally this is like a 70-minute show. I don't want to hold you up too much unless you want to talk about another topic. That's up to you. Anything in closing, especially when it comes to some of the games that I mentioned that are PlayStation exclusives. Oh, you know what? I got a question for you. Okay. And I will ask it as soon as I'm done reading the super chats. There's been quite a few of them. Wow, holy crap. It got out of control. It's 14 of them. Jamie, give me a second, brother. Let me catch up with all these generous folks. Capital Dream. First of all, welcome to the program, Capital. I'm glad to see you here. Thank you for the generosity. He says this after dropping a $5 super chat. Hey, Boom. Does anyone on the panel know what's Phil Spencer's position on the panel of the Game Awards? I don't specifically know I know he's on the board. I don't know if he is someone that picks the games. I know there's a board. I don't know if the same board of people are like entities that actually pick. I know he is actually on the board. What else he does, I honestly I don't know. I really don't. I'll find out, brother. And when I do, I will make mention of it in one of the upcoming shows. Drawn TJ drops an additional $5 super chat and says, I want the characters from all Xbox franchises in Killer Instinct, brother. From you're preaching to the choir, brother. I hope that happens. We need Doom Guy. We need Master Chief. We need Cortana. We need Joanna Dark. You need the character from Fable. I mean, we can just keep going. Power Armor from Fallout. It's limitless. What about what? I don't know. What about Ghost from COD? That would be kind of freaking dope, man. I would love it. I think that the possibilities are limitless. Now, if you really want to get like crazy and freaky, because remember there was a Battletoad in there, and that was originally cartoony. What if they made a Conquer that was kind of like lifelike like that, or and it's crazy, even a Banjo? Like, how freaking dope would that be? That would be amazing. Bold Alpha Wolfpack, generous friend of the program, drops $5 super chat and says, and they treat us like mental patients when we tell them Parasily is so dismissive, but there it is. I mean, look, I said this to Paris when he was on the show, and I cannot believe that he took 2 days of his time to be on the show. And it's a big deal. This is a small channel. Like we don't get a lot of big names. And I like Paris. I don't always agree with Paris, and he knows it. And you know what? Paris, more than likely, I think it's safe to say, probably doesn't always agree with me. But I still think we can have a conversation and not make it personal like some other knuckleheads on the internet have done. But I hear you, Alpha Wolf, and I appreciate it, brother. Thank you for the generosity as always. Ables 2009 drops a very generous £5 super chat and says, only found your channel recently, but have become a daily listener. That is awesome, dude. Welcome to the program, and thank you for the generosity. He says, huge Xbox fan, but also own a PlayStation. Love the channel. Xbox tax is real. Yeah, dude, listen, I got the Spider-Man plates on the way. I finally got them. I have my Spider-Man 2 DualSense. I bought the digital. I don't apologize for enjoying Spider-Man 2. I got 15 and a half hours in. I'm not even close to beating it because, like I said, I'm a map guy, so I'll beat it after I have 50 hours. That's just how I'm going to do it. I will try to platinum it. I don't think that it deserves 7 noms. I just don't. And not because of the bugs, just because it's very Spider-Man. And it's not that it's a bad thing. It does a lot of really great things, but it is very much Spider-Man when you look at something like Starfield that does so many things. You know, like my biggest thing with Starfield is that no matter who you speak to, and this is the magic of it. This is why it's special, folks. Take 10 people that have played Starfield and ask one same question. Ask the same question to all 10 people. You know what you're going to get? You're going to get 10 different answers. That's why it's special. Because the story that you're being told is the story that you are developing. Not a lot of games do that. And this game allows you to do that, which is why it's special. and why no one saw that for it. I'm perplexed. I just don't know. Jonas the Dad. First of all, brother, I want to apologize because he dropped a super chat on, I think it was one of the shows at the beginning of the week. It was right before we closed down, and I saw it. So shout out to you, Jonas. I don't have it in front of me, but thank you as always for the generosity. He's been a channel member for a month, and he says this: Baldur's Gate 3 wins RPG, and Spider-Man 3 wins Game of the Year. It will be a shame, of course. No Hogwarts, no Starfield, no way. What a joke. Hit that like button, brother. Thank you so much for the support, but of course, thank you for being here. Lieutenant Hulk, love the name, brother. Welcome back. He drops $2 super chat and says, it's crazy that Baldur's Gate 3, a 2020 early access game, is up for Game of the Year. Yeah, it's just weird, the rules. I don't know. To me, it just doesn't seem fair, but it's like I said, I'm just disappointed with the process. That's the best thing I could say. Nintendo the Otaku drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, the same PlayStation fanboys that deny that there's an Xbox tax will say that Nintendo always gets a pass no matter what they do in the same breath. I mean, Nintendo does get a lot of passes. I'm the problem, folks. I buy all their remakes. I'm a Nintendo guy. I got 80 boxed games. I got 80 physical games for the Switch. I don't apologize for it. I remember I'm an OG. I got my first Nintendo when I was 15 for my birthday, and I've been a fan ever since. Yeah, they do rake us over the coals, and their business practices aren't great, but their games are just phenomenal. So yes, I'm a part of that problem. We have Bold Alpha. Oh no, hold on. I'm sorry. Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $5 super chat and says Starfield has diverse characters that make it controversial. I assume it's sad that we are in this state of the world. Yeah, it's disgusting. It is. It's everyone is represented in that game. I don't understand what's the controversy about it, because you can choose to be straight, or potentially have a different point of view from your sexual orientation. That's a problem. That's in real life, folks, and it's okay to do either. Love is love, folks. I'm sorry if you don't agree with me. I hear you, but everyone is welcome in this channel. I don't care about any of that stuff, and it should be like that in gaming. Everyone should be everyone should be involved. It should not be exclusive. It should be inclusive. Gaming is and should be inclusive. That's all I will say. Bold Alpha Wolfpack drops an additional $5 super chat and says, I think it's subliminal messaging that Xbox is inferior on the VGA nominees. Only the last two gens were the conditioning period. Oh my goodness. I mean, what I can say is my best stab at it, if you will, my best guess on why Xbox is not looked upon as a relevant platform is because gaming journalism is a very young man's game, right? And those young men and women have grew up as PlayStation fans, and that's their brand, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just here to tell you that maybe because I'm old and I have a very high bar for myself personally, integrity is an important part of what we do here in Double Barrel Gaming, right? Honor, integrity, transparency, inclusiveness. Those are incredible, literally the pillars that hold up Double Barrel Gaming. If I'm going to go out there and I'm going to say something I know is not true, then you should not be subscribed to me. You should unsubscribe immediately. But that will never happen because that's not how I roll. It's okay to be a fan of something. It absolutely is okay. But you got to call it like it is. Even if your favorite brand is doing it wrong, you got to call it out. That's not the new generation. That's not this particular generation, unfortunately. Andy Hart, who's been a channel member 18 months, says Starfield was not for me. I'm sure it wasn't an Xbox game. It would be nominated. I mean, Andy, I think you're right. My take, and I want to bring Jamie in a second, and I will catch up with the remainder of the super chats in a minute. If this is what Sony wanted it to be, and that is a PlayStation exclusive, never, never coming to an Xbox. Let's say, for instance, the Bethesda purchase doesn't happen and PlayStation locks up this game. I am telling you, and I say this with full authority, this would have gotten the most nominations any one game would have ever gotten because it was a PlayStation exclusive. And I'm not saying that to be console worry. That is my honest to God opinion. Jamie, my question to you, kind sir, is this. Because the industry is packed with the Dan Stapletons of the world. I said something. I said something to the guys in primetime gaming, and I'm not going to say who agreed or disagreed. What I am going to say is my opinion. This is me because I came up with this. Is that because Microsoft has become this bombastic entity in gaming that is going to come to a point, Jamie, that cannot be denied. You're not going to be able to ignore Xbox. They own Bethesda, they own Blizzard, they own King, they own Activision, and that's just the tip of the spear. More entities are coming, whether that's Square Enix, whether that's Sega, whether that is Asobo and Certain Affinity and all these other studios that they're working with. It's going to continue. My personal opinion, Jamie, and I want to get yours, is because they have become so relevant and it's so anti Xbox already. Is every game released via Activision, Blizzard, XGS, or even Bethesda going to start off with an asterisk because it's an Xbox exclusive?
I think it will. I think it's going to start off a bit rough, but over time it's going to get better because Microsoft's going to be putting out so many big games each year that the industry folk they won't be able to ignore it anymore. Like Microsoft's going to come out with at least 4 big games every year, not to mention smaller games and remasters in between. And like, look, let's look at Microsoft games are always viewed differently. And I saw someone in chat, can't remember who it was, but Remedy's games used to be exclusive with Xbox, and now all of a sudden, because of Alan Wake 2, and don't get me wrong, Alan Wake 2 is a masterpiece in my opinion.
It's a masterclass achievement by Remedy.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
And like Alan Wake, it gets called a bit niche in the media. Quantum Break, it gets called niche. And then, Control, people love it. They say the combat's amazing, which it is. Alan Wake 2 comes out, great, like I just said, Alan Wake 2. But that just happens to be the game that make people go, you know what? Is Sam Lake a genius? He's always been a genius. And then I see bloody Polygon yesterday saying, was Quantum Break overlooked? Let's talk about it. It's like, you overlooked it. Like we've all been talking about Quantum Break for years. It's original. You don't see time travel stories like that in AAA gaming. It did something.
Dude, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
Folks, to Jamie's point, please go download this masterclass achievement from Remedy. Quantum Break is of maze balls. So much so that when it came out, I got 1,000 out of 1,000 achievements. And that last one, that last boss, what a MF to try and get that last achievement. Holy shit. It took me like 30 tries.
Yeah, outside of the last boss, the game's incredible, but
it's
like,
just amazing
to see them overlooked like that because they were clearly like working with Microsoft. There is a bias there, and like people don't have to agree with me, but at the end of the day, it's like, how come Alan Wake people look fondly on it the second the remaster is released? When Quantum Break is brought up now, people think, oh, yeah, no, it was actually a good game. Alan Wake 2 is multi-platform and it's a masterpiece. And it is a masterpiece. But I hate the fact that Remedy got overlooked for, 15 years because they worked with Microsoft. Like, that's just not fair. And we're going to see this for, like, ongoing titles. Like, next year when Call of Duty comes out, let's say it's the best Call of Duty to date, and it launches day one in Game Pass. You're going to see some things in the media that just kind of nitpick it.
Yeah.
Any reason whatsoever. And like you're saying, like if Starfield was under like the PlayStation exclusivity, which they originally wanted, they would be nominated for all sorts, but like I just find it funny, and I'm shaking my head. Like Starfield is called controversial for existing.
Yeah.
Like, and it makes no sense. So, like, we're gonna see the stuff bleed over to the Activision stuff, but it's gonna get to a point where they put out so many new titles that are actually good. Like Hellblade 2 next year, Avowed and all that stuff. Like, they will look too obvious to be nitpicking, and they'll have to actually be honest for a change.
Yeah, I really believe that. I think that they're gonna, because what it appears is PlayStation is in a tailspin, right? We know that there's now a change of direction because there was a massive change in leadership, and we know that they don't have anything for 2024 outside, of course, of the remakes for Horizon Zero Dawn and The Last of Us 2. Now it's going to be pretty interesting if those somehow get into the game of the year as remasters, right? Like it literally wouldn't surprise me. Folks, I've already said this publicly. When I say there's an asterisk, okay, only because he said it, I'm talking about Dan Stapleton. There will be ramifications within the industry if Microsoft makes these two particular games exclusive. One of which was, of course, Starfield. He gave a 7. Even though he said he wrote his article, it was an 8. The way it read, it gave it a 7. Okay, fine, whatever. But I'm telling you right now, and Jamie, I don't know if you agree with this. The next, I was gonna say Skyrim, the next Elder Scrolls 6, is gonna get a 7, no
Oh
matter how
yeah,
good it is.
yeah. Like I put it like this. I've been doing a social experiment on Twitter since Starfield came out. I'll post gameplay of me, doing space combat, going into a base, and the replies are pretty much all positive. But if I post a clip of me just walking to a location, vile comments.
Yeah,
People
I know.
people like if people want to laugh, go to one of my posts where I post like just a clip of me walking. I do it on purpose because it brings out the crazies for some reason. Now this is Starfield. This is a new IP, and we saw coming. But when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out, hell on earth is going to open up. It's going to
Indeed.
be it's going to be amazing to watch, and also terrifying at the same time, because like even though like that is years away, it's 2026 or whatever. But at the same time, like, can you imagine what it's going to be like? Let's say it comes out and it's great and it's amazing. It's like the new Skyrim. It's going to be salty online, and like Dan Stapleton, like like a lot of people in the media just come across really unprofessional. If you call it out, you're in the wrong. Look at I think it was Metro in the UK, which nobody should take them seriously, but unfortunately, people in the media do.
Well, they're a part of the voting board, so I
Yeah.
mean, they have clout,
Yeah,
but they shouldn't.
like they said they couldn't give Starfield a higher score because Microsoft's output is low.
Yeah.
Like,
They also said the same thing about Hi-Fi Rush. We'd love to give it a higher score, but because there's been not a good track record of first-party games, we can't. How does that even? Somebody in the chat make that make sense for me. These
it does. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense. Like, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because when I talk about this, I know for a fact I'm making sense. People agree with me, but just like every so often, some media person will reply to me saying, "Well, it doesn't work like this, Jamie." Blah blah blah. It's like it's so obvious. Like, how is the one Starfield is the big thing that people should point out? How is the one Bethesda RPG that people look at negatively an Xbox exclusive? Yet, Fallout 4, beloved. Fallout 3, beloved. Skyrim, Oblivion, all beloved. But Starfield is the one that people look at negatively. It's controversial. It's controversial for existing. And we see these 83 listed, like you were saying earlier, these 83 listed Metacritic games go up for Game of the Year in the past. It's because in 83, Metacritic for PlayStation is higher than an 83 for Xbox.
Yeah.
Like, nothing makes sense right now. I'm looking at the nominees. Sorry, I'm rambling, but
No, go crazy, but it's a conversational podcast.
Final
by all means.
Fantasy, 14 is up for where is this? Best ongoing game makes sense, but you have like Cyberpunk 2077. Like none of these
Ridiculous.
like Cyberpunk is not an ongoing game. It got an expansion. The game was actually fixed in 2022, but the media somehow forgot that and just
Well, they
none of it.
destroyed that game. Didn't the media destroy that game?
Yeah.
Didn't PlayStation actually stop
Yeah.
selling it and pulled it from their store?
Yeah, it's crazy and like I don't like look. I'm like Lies of P, right? I know it's not a PlayStation thing, but like I'm going back onto the categories. Like things in this industry just don't make sense,
Right.
and like I was
How
pointing
is
about
that part of RPG? That should be best action
yeah,
game.
yeah,
Yeah.
like Hogwarts Legacy again. The fact that Hogwarts Legacy isn't nominated for anything proves that there's people in the industry they will just ignore things, let things slide because they don't agree with certain situations. Like
Yep.
hell, J.K. Rowling didn't make Hogwarts Legacy. The way these journalists act, they make it act like she was sitting behind a computer, coding away on Unreal Engine, making the game herself when she didn't. You know, she was sitting at home probably reading a book. But people act like really weird online, and it, it's like the game industry is technically a joke, right? We all try to take it seriously, but like people that get paid for a living behind a desk that write for gaming don't take it seriously, and that's a problem.
Yeah, listen, it's again, it's unfortunate. No one here at Double Barrel Gaming or any of the people, panel members I've had have like lost their shit over a game not getting nominated because it's just not that serious. There's much more important things going on in the world than this game. It again, for me, I rank it as I'm just very disappointed in the system, and I feel that if we don't say something, if we do not get out in front and be like, hey, you know what, there is a problem here. Let's hash it out. Why is this happening? Then it's just going to continue to happen. Now, some people be like, well, boom, it is continuing to happen. So why bother saying anything? Because that's just who I am as a character, folks. My character does not like injustice. I will not stand by and watch it. And I feel that for me, I have to say something, and usually I think I'm pretty on point. Like I'm pretty fair with my commentary. I don't go out of my way to be a troll, but not everyone's gonna agree. That's perfectly fine. We have a couple more super chats to get here, and then we'll do outros, and we'll get you out of here, Jamie. We have Bold Alpha Wolfpack drops an additional very generous $5 super chat and says, I don't believe there is a group per se. It's in the zeitgeist. This is what people outside of the ecosystem assume. I mean, yeah, I don't think that I don't think there is a group of lizard men and women that are trying to destroy Xbox from the inside through journalism. I just don't, folks. I think that you have journalists that have they have an agenda, and if they don't like Xbox, they are not going to pick it, and that is what's happening right now. And I think Jamie said something pretty interesting that, and I've said this before, Xbox is going to have so many bangers, quote unquote, that there's going to be a point where the game journalists, even though they want to hurt Xbox, are not going to be able to deny them. It just there's going to be too many great games to deny. But I will say, just keep an eye out for the pattern because we've seen it. Starfield gets a 7, not by everyone, of course. It got a lot of 9s and a lot of 9.5s, and even got some 10s. I think it was like a total of 51 9s or above. So it did really well. A lot of people did love this game. It was a select few that, like Jimquisition gave it a 4. Come on, dude. Like your cred stick has been removed. You can't give a game a 4. But then again, they gave a 4. IGN gave a 4 to IGN. IGN should have given IGN a 4. You're absolutely right. They gave Call of Duty, which I played through. I really enjoyed it because I know it's not traditional Call of Duty because they had like a lot of the Warzone levels in there. Folks, I actually spent days. I found every freaking weapon in that game. I got the 90-point achievement. It One eluded me for like a day. It was bananas. I finally got it. So I got my 90-point achievement. I'm very happy. I really enjoyed it. Now I played a little bit of the multiplayer. look, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't get it. I don't get what people see in this game. It is not Halo Infinite. I like Call of Duty. I played a little bit of the multiplayer. Just really not for me. Apparently, it's the best one since Black Ops, but I'm not a Call of Duty guy, so I really can't tell. Nintendo Otaku drops an additional $5 super chat and says, "You got to talk about Polygon saying people slept on Quantum Break when it came out, ignoring that it was blasted by the media for being an Xbox exclusive." Yeah, actually, well, we thanks to Jamie, we did actually say that. So I hope that that you heard that, Nintendo. Thanks for the additional $5 super chat. We also have a very generous $20 super chat from Dreadful Sean, who says people need to stop questioning Xbox and start questioning the media / voters. All of the Game of the Year noms are remasters or sequels. Devs are going to stop being original and just remake old games. Creativity will be a huge dip. Hey, I got one for you, and we'll get out of here in a second, folks. Oblivion. Now, I don't know where your personal love. It's probably one of my favorite Bethesda games. Like, I am a huge Oblivion fan. I still have the collector's edition with the cloth map and the coin. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Now, that is getting a remake, right? Now, I mean, that's the rumor. Is it a remaster? I hope not. I hope it's a full on, like, real balls to the wall remake, like Resident Evil 4 remake. If and when that happens, folks, I could tell you right now, even if it is absolutely astoundingly great, it will not get in the Game of the Year category because, well, it's a remake. We've already played this game. Resident Evil 4 is hanging out over there. I'm just saying that, again, it's just the rule books are different. Andy Hart drops an additional £2 super chat and says, "My game of the year is Alan Wake 2." That's a strong pick, dude. Alan Wake 2 is phenomenal. I get a little disjarred with the with the true crime thing where you're going into the room, you got to put the papers everywhere. I don't really like that much, to be honest with you, but I get it. I get what they're trying to. So I'm pushing through it, but I do like the action sequences. And we Robo 2024, who's been a channel member for 13 months, says Quantum Break remaster for Xbox Series X, new 1000 gamer score. Yes, I will take that. For the new playthrough, and Halo should be one of the best ongoing in community. Yeah, dude, someone actually asked how much better. I think it was Bolt Alpha Wolfpack that dropped a monster super chat and says, "How much better does Xbox actually need to get?" Like, look again, look the game in front of you. Season 5 is on the legendary scale, bro. It is so freaking good. I can't stop playing it. I spent 6 hours yesterday playing Halo. I did not regret 1 minute of it, and I'm going to continue to play and record footage of it. It's just amazing. But Jamie, let's sell your brand, kind sir. Obviously, you have an amazing YouTube channel. I'd like you're closing in on 5,000 subscribers, which is, I think you're at 4.23 as of this morning. Like you to, like you to continue to grow your channel, because it is great work that you do over there. By all means, tell everyone where they can subscribe to your YouTube channel, but more importantly, strike up a conversation with you on social media.
Yeah, thank you very much, man. Growing my YouTube channel's been slow because, like, long story short, I've had health issues for the past 2 years, so weekly content outside of podcast hasn't been a thing. Finally, I am getting back to weekly videos where I cover Xbox. It's I don't really do the fanboy thing. It's strictly covering Xbox centric topics. I do top lists every month. I have all things Xbox podcast on Tuesdays, where it's a very chill, show where we cover everything in the Xbox space, because I think the Xbox community, they need more support when it comes to content creators, right? there's not like if you're a PlayStation fan, you have these like million plus subscriber channels which have these massive communities which you can talk to. But I think on Xbox, even though there's a lot of smaller channels, we're more close knit, and I kind of really like that. But anyway, I have some really cool things planned for the channel in 2024. Some big things, like you said, I'm getting close to 5,000 subscribers. Yeah, it's just Xbox, purely Xbox, and I cover mainly single player games when it comes to Xbox. Not really the live service thing, and yeah, if people want to subscribe, that would help. It's always a good time, and yeah, what can I say? The stuff I've got planned for the channel in 2024, I can't say, but some really cool stuff planned. I'm going to start doing on-camera content soon, which is really cool. But yeah, thanks for having us on, man.
Well, thank you for being a part of it of here today. Definitely appreciate. We got to come back much sooner than like a 2-year gap for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say a big thank you to all of the outstanding super chats that came in as they continue to do. And again, Mrs. Boom and I are incredibly grateful that you bless us each and every show with your generosity, and of course, we turn that around and we try to deliver back to the community as much as we can. Obviously, you already know we did a big $500 giveaway in September, a big giveaway for $500 in November, and we have. And again, if you're finding the channel for the first time, folks, this December, because we made 6 years, November 3rd on YouTube, we're doing our 6th annual Christmas with Mr. and Mrs. Boomstick, and that Breakfast with Boom. It's going to be a 2-hour show. We're giving away in 2 hours the most we've ever given, ever, since our existence on YouTube, $1,500 worth of prizes. That is going to be 10 $100 gift cards to your choice of Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, or Nintendo eShop. And of course, the 2 grand prize winners, which will be announced at the end of that show, are for 2 $250 gift cards. So it's going to be a total of 12 gift cards, equaling $1,500 worth of prizes. The first 6 are going to go to channel members, and the next 6 are going to be anyone that is in the chat. I'll have the hashtag ready, and I'll drop that as I always do. You put the hashtag in, and well, we let the picker, pick the winner. And of course, if you win, even if you're outside of the Americas, we will honor that. We're one of the few channels that actually do that. And if, let's say, for instance, you're on the other side of the pond or in Australia, we will send you the equal money through PayPal. That's the only way we do it, is through PayPal, for protection and safety for us. And yeah, we if you support the channel, we're going to support you even if you are outside of the country. So again, big thank you to all the super chats, because those allow for us to do the big giveaways. Big thank you to all the channel members. And of course, as always, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me, folks. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, Craig, I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of X Vlog Live.